effective website in telling people more about me? You think number 1 is more effective, or number 2? Number 1? How so? The background in the picture. But can you read the text? So I am getting a couple mixed responses. So in terms of the sizing, you know, the number 1 does have bigger text and it has a bigger picture, which might be seen as an advantage, but from a design standpoint, number 2 is actually the more effective one. So if you look at this one, can you read the text? Can you read everything? Can you see the picture?
Yes.
Okay, and then we go to number 1. First of all, you can see the picture. Can you read the text? Yeah. So the main component about good web design, and this is probably the most important thing, is to keep it simple. Okay. And the reason why number 1 doesn't work as well is because you have such a busy background, and then you have like this huge image, and huge images can actually take a long time to load. If you were the person looking at my website and you have slow internet, this is going to crash your computer, which is actually why this took such a long time to load when I was waiting for it, because the picture's so big. So that's already like 1 strike. The other is that you can't even read this text. It's so small, and you have like 3 different fonts going on here, and you have 3 different colors, and it's very complicated and distracting. So this one, on the other hand, there's only 2 different fonts: the header and the font for the small text. So you don't have as many colors, but it's very easy on the eyes, and you're not processing, you know, so many things on the website. So the first part is to keep your design as simple as you can. So with a web design, it's really important that you're communicating what you want. Okay. So the second one is probably the more effective web design, but it doesn't really say a whole lot. Like, you know my name and you know what I do for Google, but you might want to know more about me and what I like to do, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add some more HTML to the website. So this probably looks familiar to you guys. I'm going to create a new paragraph tag, and I'm going to write, my hobbies are drawing, taking photos, and traveling. Okay? So, yes. So I just created a new paragraph with that. So one thing you can do on a website is add images. But with adding images, you want to make sure that you're keeping things as organized as you can. So I'm going to go and try and put some of my work on a website. Okay, so when you're on the internet, you want to put some of your best work forward, right? This could be like your CV. When you start getting job experience, you might want to put a CV and represent yourself on the internet, because this is what you want other people to see. For example, I like to draw a lot, so sometimes I put a lot of like my drawings on a website. Okay, and sometimes with the website, what I also want to do is I want to link people to my website. So this is actually where I put a lot of my artwork. And I want people on the internet to see this, because sometimes you want to see like the stuff that I like to draw. And it's great to have a link to my website. So I can create a new paragraph here and then put, you can view my drawings here. So doing that, I've created more text for myself. Okay, but another thing about an effective web design is keeping things organized, okay? So right now I have 3 different paragraphs, and they all talk about different things. Like one talks about what I do for Google, one talks about my hobbies, and the other has a link to all of my stuff. And let's say that I also want to, this should link to my resume, and let's say I also want to link to my resume. So what I just did was, you can also view my CV here. So doing that, it's not very organized. There's a lot of stuff going on. So one design tactic that we usually use is creating headers. So breaking up your website that it's easy to understand. So think of your website as like a first impression. When you're meeting somebody for the first time, are you like, hi, my name is Cindy, I work for Google, and I like to do these things, and you can view my website and my resume here. That's like way too much information at once. And when you're talking to someone, you don't want them to be talking at you, but you'd rather, take the information bit by bit. So it's really important to organize your website in a way that might be easier to understand for the user. So creating headers can break your site apart so that if a user doesn't want to read the entire thing, at least they can see the most important thing, which is like my name. So one design tactic we use is creating headers. So this is much easier because now I've separated my site and made it much more organized. So we're running out of time, but when you're starting to use CSS, it's really important to keep these web design principles in mind. So keep things simple, keep things organized, and try and figure out what you want to communicate. So think about the things you want to tell people. You want to tell them maybe your name, you want to give them links to your site, and maybe you want to tell them like your hobbies and your favorite things. If that's the case, you should be dividing those things and creating sections. That way it's easier for the user to read your site. Such as when you're reading a book. Do you read a book like from start to finish in one sitting, or do you usually read it by chapter? By chapter. So think about this when you're working on your website. So going forward, when you learn CSS, it's really fun to play around with colors and stuff and different fonts. But for your end product, remember that sometimes you should limit your fonts to maybe 1 or 2 good fonts, as opposed to like 5 okay fonts. And for colors, if you're using more than 5 colors, that's probably too much because otherwise you're just like using the entire rainbow. So try and limit your color palette to maybe 3 to 4 colors that really describe who you are. Okay?
Thank you.